And we are live. Welcome to Light Years. Sam Spandiari here. Sitting across from me in Andy Liu's absence, I have Kyle Madsen. Kyle, the Warriors are undefeated this season when you've co-hosted.
That's big time.
Are you willing to take credit?
Yeah, of course. I mean, because this has consistently happened. Nothing else. Like Jordan Poole doing what Jordan Poole did doesn't happen every night. But every night that I've co-hosted this podcast, they've won. So I'm ready to take credit. I thought I did a great job today.
It was all you. When Jordan Poole put 20, 18, whatever in the
18.
fourth quarter, I was like, that's Kyle's coaching right there.
Yeah, no, and it was me getting on the internet and whining about Jordan Poole.
Is it okay? So the Warriors beat the Philadelphia 76ers 120-112 in a game where majority of the game I was just like, damn, Joel Embiid's really good. You know, like that's but let's start in Jordan Poole because it really was kind of the duality of Jordan Poole, and maybe that's the best way to describe him. Has been a controversial player this season.
Mm-hmm.
He's maybe not like he had such a good season, a breakout season last year, and just hasn't quite built on it in the way that maybe we thought he would last offseason, right? But tonight was a reminder of why he got that huge contract and why, you know, when he has those poor performances, he shouldn't be so quick to just be like, just trade him for a draft pick type of stuff, right? Because it's special. There's not a lot of guys who can take over a game where Joel Embiid, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Tobias Harris, all those guys are on the floor, and he's just like, nope, it's my time to shine.
I don't know that I've ever rooted for an athlete like this, where he's a microcosm of this Warriors team, right? Mm-hmm. It's like they're infuriating. He is infuriating. But then you have a game like this one where it's like, oh, that's why you deal with it. That's why you put up with it. The other game was at the Clippers at Chase earlier this year. We had a really nice game, and it came on the back of a couple of really poor performances. And you deal with the kind of ups and downs because I think the more he plays and the more he figures it out, I think the ups are going to eventually outweigh the downs. Right now, it feels like they're about 50-50.
Right.
But you can kind of, like last year in the finals, the reason I was so high on Jordan Poole going into this year was because in the finals last year to start the series, it was like he was unplayable. He could not figure it out.
Right.
But by game 4 or game 3, game 4, it was like, oh, he's figuring out how to impact this series without having to score 25 or 30 points. And that's what I was hoping going into this year. He would continue to kind of build on that and figure out how to impact games. And you see little flashes of it, especially in a game like tonight. But then what are you going to get on Sunday? Like, for sure. That's the conundrum.
It's been a few games in a row where I've been like, he's finally turning the corner. But right before that, there was a stretch of games where I was like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm out. It's over. Trade him for Jonathan Isaac, or I don't care. You know, like so, like that's just saying names. To the Jordan Poole point, on the post game, Jordan Poole said he does not appreciate the slander. He said we saw playoff JP tonight.
Well, I don't appreciate the heat check 35-footer after he makes his first basket in 11 shots.
I mean, it's kind of the perfect microcosm of him because he's audacious, both on and off the court, right? Like just letting everyone know after he has probably his best moment in a good stretch, you know, kind of taking over the game, bringing home what was a huge win against an incredibly hot Joel Embiid. Like, I mean, I don't know how you felt, but I was watching him in the third quarter and I was just like, I don't know how the Warriors can come back on this. Like, he can't miss. Nothing they were doing.
Well, when he came back in the fourth and they just immediately stretched it to 11, it just kind of felt like, okay, this is done. They're not going to be able to get enough stops to cut into an 11-point lead. And then they did. I thought they did a really nice job of kind of, and I don't know if he got gassed towards the end of the game. I thought Kevon Looney and Draymond Green did a really nice job. They started throwing some different stuff at him defensively, but they forced him into like fall away jumpers. And if you're getting him to shoot, and he made a bunch of them tonight, but you're taking that
the volume of the volume. I was like, dude, he can't hit like 8 of these in a row. And it felt like he literally did hit 8 of them in a row at one point. Yeah.
He went, what did he go tonight? What did he finish? 13 of 23. He missed 10 shots. If you told me he shot 23 times, I would have been like, he went 20 for 23.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember
22 free throws. That's the other part of it, where it was just a parade to the line. I mean, if it felt didn't it feel inevitable? Didn't it feel like you were going against like a Shaq or like a locked in LeBron where you're like, well, I don't know what to really do right now.
Like to the point where it's like, just stop fouling him. Let him have the 2.
Mhm.
I'm just tired of watching free throws.
Yeah, exactly.
Let him get his 2 points and go home.
I don't want to pot at 11 tonight. Let's just get silver.
Yeah, it's brutal. He's the only player, I think, because every year, we've done this every year since 2015, right? Yeah. It's been like the Warriors don't have enough size. The Warriors don't have enough size. You know, they
and every year they try to get smaller, and just because they want to bring that vibe back. Let us know. They still don't have enough size. We're gonna get smaller.
Ultimate small ball. James Wiseman too big. That was the only problem. No, but it feels like Joel Embiid is the only player in the league that can expose their lack of size in a way that it's like, oh, that might be impactful over a 7-game series, because you can't just run Joel Embiid off the floor like they did with Clint Capella and pick your favorite big over the last decade.
You know, put Jokic in high pick and roll, but at the same time, as inevitable as Joel felt for 3 and change quarters, they did eventually run him off the court. Like, he got his. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say he was the problem in any capacity for Philly. Mm-hmm. Anytime you go 46, 9, and 8 efficiently, you've done your job. But at the same time, that fourth quarter was a layup line. Jordan Poole, we gave the praise to off the bat, but Steph had a handful of those, and I don't really know what you call that, like little 8-foot push shot, but it's a layup.
Shovel pass.
I mean, it is a layup for him. Like every time he gets, I'm like, okay, that's going in. You know?
Yeah, when he gets him on the hip, and then he just stops. Yeah, I swear to God, he shoots 95% on that.
I can't remember him missing one, but the point is, it's like they spaced Philly out, and they tired Joel out, and they just started getting layups and threes at repeat on him. And that's kind of the Warriors conundrum in general. It's, you know, do they have enough size? No, they're small. At some point, you're going to feel like they're small, but if they get into their rhythm, no one can guard them. And, you know, maybe we could talk about this. I walked away from this game being like, okay, Joel Embiid's the MVP of the league in the sense of I've found the whole conversation uninteresting.
It's exhausting, bro.
Yeah. Well, I just don't care. It's like an argument of guys I feel fairly confident that Steph Curry's better than. So like I can't like really engage in this like debate over who's the guy who's gonna get like caught on the perimeter while Steph hits threes, you know?
Right. Well, and here's the way I look at it. And I try really hard not to engage in conversations where, like, I'm sorry, I don't watch a ton of Sixers basketball. I don't watch a ton of Nuggets either. So if you want me to give you a take on Jokic or Embiid, it's going to be based on what I see when they play the Warriors. And Joel Embiid tonight impacted a game as much as any player in the league, first of all, but certainly more than Jokic did in 5 playoff games last year. Like, I've just never, like, he impacts the game a little bit differently. It's not so much of the scoring, you know, it's the passing and everything he can do there. But it was like, man, I've never felt like when Nikola Jokic gets the ball, it's like, damn it, like this possession is going to end in 2 points or 3 points. But Embiid tonight, every time he touched the ball, there was that one where he lost. It was in the fourth quarter, and he like lost his dribble and picked it up with like 5 on the shot clock, and he has Kevon on the perimeter and like just walked Kevin him Durant down.
Yeah,
like that's not a lot of guys do that with Kevon Looney.
And, no, and it was how to me it was also like how automatic he is on that like little like fadeaway jump shot. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you became Kevin Durant. You know, like
it's outrageous.
Yeah,
his game's developed a lot.
And I think my overall take on him is I probably undersold his offense because I like Jokic's game. Like, he's just such a good passer and makes a lot of marginal players better. So I always have like a soft spot for those type of guys, like more than the guy who puts 25 but like makes Aaron Gordon look really good. to me is a more
Right.
impactful offensive player than the guy who gets 30 plus.
Right.
With that said, if it's 30 plus like that, I that's not the same thing. So I think
It's not 30 plus on like crazy volume and like low percentages. Like it's a very efficient 30 plus night in and night out.
And most nights, I feel like the performance he put up would have just eventually had the opposing team, the Warriors in this case, like just fold. Like it felt like at the end of the third, the early fourth, they were begging the Warriors to fold. And, shout out Doc Rivers being like, I'm going to keep him on the bench for 6 minutes and let the Warriors get hot. And I appreciate that. Great coaching.
Well, and that's something that we talked about during the game was it felt like I said, when it got to 11, I think a lot of teams in that spot, and this is where you can't like quantify that championship pedigree and like knowing how to win. But this is why I've not, as frustrating as the Warriors have been all season, this is why I've not been able to just punt and be like, they can't win it. Because you see them tighten up down the stretch against Dallas. And then they come home and they tighten up down the stretch against the Sixers. And you saw the Sixers start to get out of rhythm offensively. They started giving up some open looks on the other end. And they just they were a little bit discombobulated down the stretch. Like they didn't know what to do with, with a team that was swinging back after they got knocked down. I think the Sixers are just used to rolling in that spot.
And the other thing that the Warriors should get credit for, and it does play to their advantage in the playoffs, like these dudes have been here. A younger team would have folded also because like it really sucks to play good defense and just it not matter.
Yeah.
Draymond and Looney are like as veteran as it gets defensively. You don't think those guys were annoyed with what Joel Embiid was doing? Like,
oh, totally.
Yeah, but they can stick to the game plan. And, it's not easy to stay with the same thing when you're just getting scored on repeat. And that's another thing that I think plays to the Warriors' advantage going to the playoffs. Like, yeah, they've been there. They're not going to emotionally react to, an opposing star player. And newsflash, the playoffs are all star players, like going off in that sort of way. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll get into it a little later in terms of their chances going forward. But like, yeah, when you've been there that much, like you do have kind of the mental toughness. So you can just stay locked in a little longer to keep going with it. The other player I really want to talk about tonight was Jonathan Kuminga. Did not play well. And I think this is, and I don't mean this in like a negative way, but it's like, the last 4 to 5 games, he looks like a budding superstar. And I feel very strongly that if he continues on this trajectory, he will be one.
Yeah.
But he's 20. And it's a reminder as they get into the deeper part of the playoffs, like, hopefully the plan is not to hang on him to be a 30 plus minute per game player in year 2 of his career when he should be, a college junior, like all intents and purposes. He could be like that's another part of it. Like a little jump shot happy tonight because Embiid was camped in the lane and, so looked like a young player.
So I agree. He didn't obviously play well, but I think one of the reasons I believe in him so much is the fact that he was not playing well, but he was still, hey, alone in the corner, no hesitation. He's pulling that 3. Like, and that's fine. It didn't go down tonight. It's not going to go down every night. And he didn't play particularly well on either end. But the fact that it was like, okay, missed the first 3. I think he missed the first 3 and then made his 4th. But it wasn't like, okay, I'm not going to shoot anymore. I'm going to turtle up. Like, the effort's still there. Like he's still trying his ass off. But like you said, he's 20. He's not going to play well night in and night out.
No, I agree with you. To me, that's always been the most encouraging thing about him. Like, I want him taking that shot because ultimately, for him to get to that next level, he needs to shoot that like Wiggins or Otto Porter, where I'm open, no hesitation. And some nights it'll be 1 for 5, and some nights it'll be 4 for 5. But the defense knows you're going to shoot it, so they'll close out to you. And it's just part of the process. So,
Hey, how about PJ Tucker? 0 for 5. All 3s.
I mean, he kind of
the joy I get watching PJ Tucker miss 3s is just I think it's residual from like 2018, but man, it's so much fun.
I mean, you know what the funny thing is? Watch PJ Tucker. Teams still close out to him like it's prime PJ Tucker because muscle memory is real in these moments, right? Like it's the same reason where, oh, Draymond's shooting better from 3 this year. It's like, okay, cool.
Better. The bar wasn't high.
Yeah, it's also the opposing defense is not going to close to him because they see 34% on the scouting report now.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, yeah,
you got to go get him.
Yeah, just hit like 2 of them, 4 of them. Maybe I'll go out there on the 5th one, like that sort of thing. And like, okay, the Warriors are now 39-36. The Lakers have officially beat the Thunder. They, I think, move into the 7th spot right now. And I'm going to pull up the standings just so we're going off the same thing. But the Warriors are, I don't want to say comfortably in the 6th spot because it's not comfortable at this stage, but
they have to win on Sunday.
They do. They play Minnesota. But they very much control their own destiny in terms of staying out of the play-in, which is, maybe a week ago, I wouldn't have felt that confident about it. Yeah, this is an updated standings right here.
Half game back of the 4 seed.
They are a half game back of the 4 seed.
God.
I don't know if you're looking at this. Do you have any preference on what the Warriors should do, or is your mindset mostly like you can't get that far ahead of yourself?
No, my mindset on this is whether it's even with KD on the Suns, whether it's Phoenix, the Clippers, or the Kings, if the Warriors are playing well down the stretch, I think they can beat anybody. I think they can beat any one of those teams. But if they go stumbling into the playoffs and it's like, okay, got to lose a couple here to make sure they play this, like, nah, just keep winning. And if they're playing well going into the postseason, I don't give a damn who they play. So, but if I'm ranking it, I think it probably goes Sacramento, Clippers, Suns. I think.
Ooh.
I think
it's
more just because I don't trust the Clippers in the postseason.
I think I go Sacramento and Memphis. Mostly, and hear me out on this one.
In the first round?
Yes.
Like they purposely go into the play-in?
I don't purposely want to go into the play-in. I'm just saying I would rather play those teams
I see.
than the Clippers or the Suns. And
that's fair.
Here's my logic on why I would rather play the Sacramento Kings or the Memphis Grizzlies versus the Clippers or Suns. The Warriors are most likely going to get Gary Payton the second back on Sunday. If not Sunday, immediately after that. GP2, if he's healthy, is one of the 2 or 3 best point of attack defenders in the NBA. It's like him, Drew Holiday, Caruso. It's a short list. What do the Sacramento Kings have? A star point guard. What do the Memphis Grizzlies have? A star point guard. What do the Phoenix Suns and Clippers have? Star
wings.
Huge wings who Andrew Wiggins would guard. And I don't know when Andrew Wiggins is coming back. So if you're just asking me, being honest, looking at the next 2 to 3 weeks, what type of matchup I feel more comfortable with, I feel more comfortable with them guarding a team driven by their point guard because I feel fairly comfortable GP2 will be back. And I don't really know what's going on with the Wiggins situation. No one does. I mean, we can get into that a little later, but even if he does come back, it does feel like he will take longer to get back to who he was than Gary Payton II, who's been there since pre-All-Star break. And this is more of a Warriors getting his body where they want to get it more than anything.
Yeah, I think having like, how many possessions have we seen where teams open threes and it just starts because that point of attack defense was bad? Like it's just into the lane, defense collapses. It's 3 open shooters on the perimeter. Like that is the crux of their issue right now. So that's why I liked the GP2 ad. Like it's, all-star, no, but man, he fixes a lot of their problems.
But he is a star caliber defender. He's a star at what he does. Like it's one of those things where people just don't value defense the way they do other things. Like if the Warriors acquired DeMar DeRozan, it would get headlines and people are like, ooh, they're on the next level. And I'm sitting here and like, honestly, what would he do for this team that Jordan Poole and Klay don't do? Like the last thing they need is another guy who wants to dribble the ball and shoot, you know?
Right. I'm watching tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Like you brought up Andrew Wiggins earlier. And I think the conversation around Andrew Wiggins has to go to like, okay, when he's back, what does he do? And honestly, tonight was hard because watching Tobias Harris just go to work on Klay, that was tough. And you see Harris go 10 of 12, and it's like, man, Klay 5 years ago is not letting Tobias Harris go 10 of 12.
Yeah, exactly.
But you throw Andrew Wiggins, I promise Tobias Harris is not going 10 of 12. And it's just like, there's just little things like that game in and game out where it's like, they can survive here and there without number 20.
And Philly's not a team I'd be like, you need a big wing stopper against, you know, at least not without James Harden. Yeah, obviously James Harden played. You'd want someone like Wiggins on him. But yeah, to your point, you know, and so we can have the same uncomfortable conversation we get to have every podcast now. Now it's your turn. Game 18, nothing new. When do we need to know that Andrew Wiggins is coming back in general? And do you think this team can win without him, honestly?
When do we need
I said that in the wrong order. Can this team make a deep playoff run without
him? No, I don't like. So logically, no. But last year, I learned not to rule out Steph Curry doing anything. So
sure,
maybe. But logically, outside of
it would be harder. It would be a lot harder.
Right. So I think here, let me say they can without him. I think they will with him.
Okay,
if that makes more sense.
It does.
You can't. He was the second best player on a championship team last year or in the finals.
Yeah.
Like that, you can't just remove that from the equation and
pretend it doesn't matter. Pretend it's like it's not making your team worse, right? Yeah,
yeah. And it is, and whatever he's dealing with. But I mean, separate from that, on the court, the Warriors are worse without him. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. You can't remove a player who's that impactful in the playoffs and just be like, yeah, they're fine. Like this isn't.
Just give Tony Lamb. Just give Tony Lamb his money. We're good. All right. The second question is the more nuanced one. For all we know, he could be back next week. But when do they actually need him back? And by that, I mean playing some facsimile of Andrew Wiggins in shape, in rhythm. Doesn't need to be like game 5 of the finals where you're like, damn, I didn't know he had that level to him. But like, you know, he's an NBA rhythm.
Right. Like basically his preseason, because that's what we're looking at now. Was it 5 games? The Warriors won 5 in a row to close last season. They really struggled through like March and then just turned it on in one. That's what I'm looking at. The last 5. Can you get him back for, they play against San Antonio Friday, March 31st. And then they have 5 left, including that game. Then they're at Denver, home Oklahoma City, at Sac, at Portland. If you can get him for those 5 games, honestly, even 4, starting with the road trip at Denver. I think it's just a 1 game, so not really a road trip, but I think that's probably good to get him to do enough to help them, and then he can kind of figure it out through the first and second round. But
yeah, and that's kind of just to get back to what I was saying. That's kind of why I was really high on them facing a team that's more guard driven than wing driven in round 1, just because it's like the last thing I want is a guy who isn't in rhythm having to figure out how to guard Kevin Durant or Kawhi Leonard, you know. Save that for round 2 or 3, you know, that type of thing. So, but they may not have a choice in that set equation, right? So
yeah, and that's that. I'm fascinated to see because Steve Kerr has been really good at pushing buttons in playoff series. Like he's been, you know, for whatever complaints you want to have about him during the regular season, he's done. It was all Ron Adams and Mike Brown. No, I think for whatever complaints you have about him during the regular season, he's very good at pushing buttons over the course of a 7-game series and kind of figuring things out.
Yeah.
Or he and the Warriors coaching staff.
No, I agree with you.
Shout out to Jama.
He's Jama's the man. Yeah, no, Steve's definitely like a big picture tactician, and like last year, in my opinion, was his best playoff run because it just felt like they had the smarter game plan in every matchup, and it was so thought out in the way they attacked teams over the course of the series. Yeah.
Well, and they were able to have over the course of a game, they were able to have maybe like the 2 or 3 best players on the court in a series.
Mm-hmm.
But without Andrew Wiggins, it's Steph, and then can Clay over 7 games give you 7 games of being the second best player on the court?
Or Draymond or Poole.
Can Draymond, like that, and maybe they can piece it together. And like I said, maybe it's Tony Lamb. Maybe he's the key to all of this.
Tony.
But Kuminga, mix him in there. I don't know if it I just don't know if they have the bodies to make up for what Andrew Wiggins does on both ends of the floor when he's right.
Yeah.
And that's where things get tough. So it'd be a fascinating thing to watch from Steve Kerr to see how he would combat that absence.
Yeah, for sure. We got a question in the chat here I want to touch on from our guy No Cap. Memphis is the best first round matchup. I don't want to face the Kings in the first round. Kyle, I'm curious your take on this one. Yeah, you kind of jumped when I said I'd rather play Memphis, but what is your thought on because technically Memphis could fall to third. It does seem less and less. Yeah, they are 2 up. It does feel less and less likely, and maybe in a couple of games it's officially over, but in theory it could happen.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, I'm Warriors fan, diehard my whole life. But I came up doing media at the Kings flagship station, so I have a lot of friends in Sacramento. I still follow the Kings. My one concern with playing them, I do think the playoffs are a different animal. And right now they're winning a lot of games just because they're trying harder than the other team. Because this is the first year of their run, and that's kind of what happens. But my only concern would be going on the road 4 times against an offense that's ripping off 130 points a game.
Yeah.
And maybe the Warriors defense looks different in the playoffs, and that's moot. And I think Warriors fans would travel really well. But that's Sacramento's first playoff series in 16 years. Like, that building's going to be nuts. The Warriors have been terrible on the road, especially defensively, and that offense cooks. So that would be my concern. But again, you get into a tight game with the Kings, and you have GP2 checking De'Aaron Fox full court, and now you're making Kevin Huerter and Terrence Davis and all these other dudes make big shots. Like, I think I would live with that.
Yeah.
But
I would live with Steph Curry versus a young team.
But I think I might lean toward Memphis if I had to pick one of those 2 teams. I think I'd probably lean Memphis.
Okay.
For who I'd rather play.
I have a feeling the Warriors would rather play the Kings because those dudes just don't want to have to fly cross country. And they might just be as cocky to be like, dude, I really just want to be able to drive to the games for the first round.
It's their first playoff series, man. Like, that's a really hard thing to go into for Sacramento.
I might be a softie, but I really don't want it because I don't want to be the person who has to rain on that parade. I'm either going to be really mad because they beat the Warriors or I'm going to, be happy that they win, but feel like kind of bad because like the only fan base I kind of have a soft spot for outside of the Warriors is the Kings. And so whatever.
I feel that.
I'm sure I'm going to get a text from one of my friends who's a Kings fan after this telling me to, fuck off for.
That's right. You're a Davis guy
for patronizing them essentially, but, which I would get, but anyway, let's get to the voicemails, Tim.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. What's up, y'all? It's Antonio from Oakland. I'm calling around towards the end of the third quarter. We're kind of close right now, but I'm calling my shot. We're home and Steph's going to take us home. I believe in that. And even though Embiid is supposed to be the MVP and stuff, we know who the best player in basketball really is. So I'm going to call my shot. Y'all can play this if we win or lose. Either way, hope we got this one. And shout out to the San Diego State Aztecs. I go here. We run this. We took out Bama. Let's go.
Antonio, by the way, celebrate that. I picked Alabama to win the tournament, and not that my bracket I was hanging on for dear life anyway, but now I'm out.
I didn't fill out a bracket this year, and it's been very freeing. I think Antonio from Oakland calls in the 95.7 a lot. Shout out to him. But yeah, San Diego State, big time W. Good for
Love
them.
it.
Our Aztecs.
Let's go to the next one.
Antonio here again, and Steph did it, and surprisingly Poole did it, and we're getting GP2 back real soon. And I'm starting to get delusional because I'm thinking, what if Poole goes on a hot streak, and then we do it, and Peyton comes back. Come on, y'all, let's ride the high, even though they didn't have hard, but let's go.
I will say we hit on it earlier. I've turned the corner on Poole, and maybe it's because Andy is the resident Jordan Poole critic. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, you should have. I'd have played that role tonight. You gotta let me know these things.
Well, there's like 8. There's anywhere between 20 to 30 of them out there, and it's not that I disagree with all the criticism of Jordan Poole, but it's like sometimes I feel like he gets held to the standard of Steph Curry, which is a standard he will never in his life ever be able to match.
He's a different player.
Yes.
It's not fair.
He's not God. It's really that simple. He's not going to be able to shoot 45% on stupid shots, which is what Steph does.
You mean the Warriors didn't just draft another generational superstar like 28th? Crazy.
I mean, well, hey, the word's still out on Patrick Baldwin, the 28th pick. So,
really good point. He's got a great stroke.
It looks automatic.
If Jordan Poole can just play make a little bit, like that one play he had, I think it was the first or second quarter, where he did the little like behind the back dribble and then got to the free throw line and just threw that sweet bounce pass to JaMychal Green. Like just play make like that and hit your open threes, dog. I don't need this step back 35-footer. I don't.
It's the for me, it's the turnovers. It's the the third hezzy off the foot. Those are the ones where I'm like
the half spin where he leaves
it's
the
like
ball
the
behind.
meme. If I speak, I'll get myself in trouble. It's like that type of thing. Yeah.
When he drives though and does get that spin move right, man.
Well, that was what was so exciting about him tonight. He was way more decisive. When he's decisive, he is a monster. But it's like that balance between hesitation and decisiveness that he doesn't always balance. Like he's obviously the hesitation move is a key part of his game, but sometimes you're like a little too much dancing, buddy, a little too much. So.
But that's why you live with it. Because you only figure that out by playing.
Correct.
So he's either going to figure it out or not. And I feels like the Warriors are going to ride or die with him.
Yeah. And to his credit, I mean, they don't win without him tonight. So you can't hate on him and not praise him in these moments. Technically you can, but I'm not going to.
When he knocked down the dagger kind of corner three there.
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't really a dagger, but it put him up 5. I was certain that was going in. As soon as he caught it, I was like, that's a bucket. And that says a lot about him as a player. I think. That's why I'll just kind of always be like, as much as I hate it, it's like, man, I'll rock with them.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the next one.
What's up, fellas? There's about 10 seconds left in the Sixers game. I can't believe the Warriors are going to pull this out. And to me, it's hilarious that it's somehow Joel Embiid's greatness that allows Jordan Poole to be viable on defense for the entire fourth quarter. He's involved in no action. The Warriors can have other people guard the guys who are going to set the screens, and it worked. I think he gave up like one really bad offensive rebound, and that was it. And it's all because Joel Embiid is the offensive player. Anyway, great win. Looking forward to listening to the podcast.
It's a good point. We talked about Embiid on one end of the court, but when you just let it throw to him and let him cook, it does allow someone like Jordan Poole to just take a nap.
Well,
he's very good at napping on defense.
That's what I didn't understand is they never put him in that screen action.
Yeah.
They're just like, great, it's Kevon, okay, screen, okay, now it's Draymond instead. Like, what do literally anything else? Like, I was glad they didn't, but I was shocked that they never did that.
Francisco in the chat points out only because Harden didn't play. That's true.
Are the 76ers harder to defend without James Harden?
I mean, I don't like the fit of the two of them together because let's put it this way. Okay, if James Harden's in the game, he will pick on Jordan Poole. Right. But then Joel Embiid doesn't get the ball. And, are those possessions actually more fruitful playing that type of basketball? I don't know. It's a tough question. I could see it going either way on that one, but it does feel like it's like my turn, your turn, instead of like something that symbiotically makes each other better. The way that, like, I don't know, like, okay, Steph and Clay play off of each other in a way that, very few players in history have in general. So, like, obviously that's not super easy to copy, but like, I don't know. Now I'm just talking in circles.
How do you think this looks different if Harden does play? Is it just more Dante and less Poole?
Potentially, yeah. I think, but I mean, what does it do to? I think guarding Harden is much easier for the Warriors. If I'm going to be honest, they've done that. They're like, all right, so less Jordan Poole on the floor, more Dante, more Kuminga. Kuminga's probably great guarding James Harden. I mean, he's great guarding Luka. Like, it's an easier matchup for him. He's very good one-on-one. It's other aspects of defense that he looks young in. Looney is basically the James Harden stopper on switches. Draymond is fine. So it's like, it's one of those things where I don't know if it actually benefits them.
Interesting.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, let's get to the next
I don't
one.
have a take. I was asking.
No, it's fine. I mean, I'm going back and forth on it in my mind. So I don't feel strongly about it one way or another, but all I know is like, it doesn't feel like James Harden takes Embiid to another level. It's more like, all right, Embiid just does what Embiid does, whether Harden's there or not. And then Harden does what Harden does, whether Embiid's there or not. But at no point is it like going off of each other, taking them to some supernova level, the way that, like, Steph and Clay have for years.
Right. That's right.
Let's go. Let's go. What a win. What a win. Jordan Poole, out of nowhere. The baddies had to have been courtside. The baddies had to have been freaking courtside, dude. Holy crap. What a win. That is awesome. They've beaten Philly, Boston, Cleveland, and Milwaukee all at home. They're legit, and I'll always believe, because no one's beaten them until they've been beaten in the West. And the West is so mid. As we've said, Jordan Poole, great game. Do you guys think that this is going to be like the game he really needs? He's been playing a little better recently too. Do you guys think this is the game he needed to like really get going, get back to shooting well? Just a phenomenal game. Love the pod. Always appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your night. Great fucking dub. Let's go.
Now I just feel bad that I didn't bring that energy off the top.
I know that people, when they're like, love you guys, this is all, like, love the pod. I know they're talking about Andy, but I'm taking those compliments. I'm taking them with me.
You should. People text me on the side saying, I know it. I said you guys, but I meant Kyle.
Wow, that's great. Shout
out. I feel like Jordan Poole, actually, to his point, I felt like Jordan Poole had been slowly rounding into form the last few games. Like, and I'll pull it up. I can't remember the
playoff
exact
JP.
game.
You heard the slander, bro.
I mean, I don't want to say it because Paul George said playoff P and then proceeded to, so it's like, it feels too close. It feels like vibes I don't want to put out there, but yeah. Okay. Against Houston, sorry, I take that back. I want to say against Memphis or against Atlanta, he played a really poor game. And then against Memphis, he started coming around. Memphis was a game he got like 9 or 10 free throw attempts. And since then he's built off of it, I thought he played really well against Dallas the other night. And yeah, tonight I thought he was excellent. Like we've spent a lot of time talking about him.
Yeah, if he played like this every night, the Warriors would be really hard to beat. That's scorching hot. If he scores 33 a night, watch out. No, it's not even the scoring though. Like the efficient shooting is great, but it's just
decisive.
It's the overall playmaking. And I think he only had like 3 or 4 assists, but it's what he does to a defense that is just unique in a way that it's not the same way as Steph, but it's that secondary ball handler, that secondary creator that we've wanted them to have for such a long time. And he does those things. It's just, can he avoid the dumb shit?
But it's being able to do those things in the context of Steph's defenses are so dialed up to stop him that if he is decisively attacking, I don't know what you do, because your option is then you shift attention more to Poole, and then boom, Steph will do his thing. So
right.
It's the combination of them that just becomes unguardable.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, Tim, let's get to the last one.
Yo, Pastor here.
Oh,
what up, guys? What a freaking win! This was huge. The freaking MVP of the league. Embiid comes to town. He doesn't sit. He wants to play. He wants to take on Draymond. And he didn't win. He didn't win because he played stupid-ass drop defense and we splashed some threes in his face. It was freaking awesome. I don't care how much of a beast that guy is. We put it to him. And that is why you can never count the Warriors out. We can play defense for some reason at home. We can't play it on the road. Don't know why. Starting to turn that around. And it's looking good for the Warriors. There's a real shot that we can end up somewhere four games over 500, maybe even more, and be that 4th seed, be that 5th seed. Everyone should be pumped. Everyone should be tuning into the playback. I'm sick and tired of not everyone showing up in there. We need more people in there. We need more energy in there. Get off your asses. Get in there. Let's have some conversation. Let's enjoy these games as the Warriors march on their way to the 4th seed. Late, guys. Bye.
First
Checks
off,
in the mail.
My guy McWalters, I will be there on Sunday, and I encourage every one of you, if you're watching the game, stream it on playback with us. I'll shoot out the link. I'll give you all the details. Better way to watch. Secondarily, the quest for 45 wins is on. Can the Warriors get to 45 wins? Can the Warriors? That's big. That's big talk. I'm talking 6-1 the rest of the way. 45 wins, a number that would disgust me in preseason, but for most of my life, I would consider a big success.
Well, the issue with 45 wins, so if they got to 45, that means they get a huge win over Minnesota that puts them well clear of the 7 seed. It doesn't clinch the 6, but it puts them in a really good
spot.
Feeling
comfortable
right,
about
puts
not
them in the
being a
driver's
playing team. Yeah.
And then it's New Orleans, Sans Zion at Chase, and San Antonio. So can they make that 3-0 stretch? Because if they do, they've won now 6 in a row.
Now we're at 42. Yeah.
And then you're at Denver. And then home OKC.
But does Denver play their guys?
TBD. But the moral of this story is they have 3 road games left. They would need to win 2 of them. If they're winning 2 road games, 2 competitive road games where the other team is trying, that just, again, that goes to what I was talking about. Like they ended last year winning 5 in a row. If they can win, that'd be 3 of their final 4 on the road after being so abysmal there all season. Now it looks like going into the playoffs, hey, you know what? They're starting to figure it out a little bit. So I would, man, if they got to 45, that would be enormous for several reasons.
Yeah. And like, honestly, I'm looking at this. I was being like semi-facetious about that. But like, honestly, Sacramento is not going to be playing their guys the second to last game of the season. They're going to be locked in. Portland's already sent Dame home. Like
Portland is home.
OKC and Minnesota on Sunday, and OKC a week after that are probably the toughest games they have left in terms of just like two teams fighting it out for standings positioning, right?
Mhm.
Like Denver will have, I mean, Denver's basically clinched home court anyway. So it's one of those things where they might be able to, create the separation they need. And it's funny considering the cesspool that was the regular season, the most part.
Yeah, I'm. What a ridiculous season.
Yeah,
the fact that we're sitting here after they beat Philly, and it's like, yeah, if they can get to 45 wins, I could feel really good about where they're at. That's just, man.
I agree. All right.
Did you know Denver would be tied for the 3 seed in the East, and the Warriors would be the 8 seed in the East?
I did know that. Well, not off the top of my head, but All right, okay, so I didn't know that. Anyway.
Perfect.
I did know the West was doing worse than the East. I hadn't actually put the numbers in my face, but yeah. I mean, look. I will not feel guilty about this. I'm gonna say this right now. We're ending on this take. My entire life, the West has been significantly better than the East. I will not feel guilty for once in my life getting the NBA equivalent of an 8-8 division title.
I'd take that for sure.
Kyle, I appreciate you.
Yeah, anytime, man.
All right.